The committee raised the target range for the federal funds rate by 3/4 of a percentage point, bringing the target range to 2.25% to 2.5%. And we're continuing the process of significantly reducing the size of our balance sheet, which plays an important role in firming the stance of monetary policy. Today's meeting, the committee raised the target range for the federal funds rate by 3/4 of a percentage point, bringing the target range to 2.25% to 2.5%. And we're continuing the process of significantly reducing the size of our balance sheet, which plays an important role in firming the stance of monetary policy. Today,
all praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, Bashem Ha Rakakwadash, double honors to our apostles and elders which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect, may you endure into the end. Abad Babal. Alright, so the Federal Reserve, which this is Jerome Powell. Alright, he's actually, he made this statement a day ago, which today is July 28th, 2022, the year the Lord is turning it up. And this is evidence of that, alright? Because this is going to get this place turned up. It says here on CNBC, here's what the Federal Reserve's back-to-back 75 basis point interest rate hikes mean for you. Alright, so I'm going to just jump down to the point. It says, what the federal funds rate means to you. The federal funds rate, which is set by the U.S. Central Bank, is the interest rate at which banks borrow and lend to one and another overnight. So to borrow, for a bank to borrow money from the central bank, they get it at 2.25% or even less. But then when they charge you money, all right, when you get a loan for a car, for a house, all right, they're charging you 25% interest. All right. So that shows you the big difference, in this system. The banks, they're able to get the money between each other at 2% or less, and then they charge you 25% to borrow the money, or even higher. I've heard of loans at 100%. You borrow $300,000 and they want $300,000 back for that loan. They're buying a house at $300,000. They borrow for $300,000 for the house, and then they get taxed on another $300,000 for the loan. All right, so this is a wicked, corrupt society under the so-called white man, the red devil the Bible speaks of. Now let me jump down. It says what borrowers should know about higher rates, which this is going to affect pretty much every American, because in America, all right, we operate off credit. All right, this is a debt-ran society. It says short-term borrowing rates will be among the first to jump. So there you go. If you got a short-term loan, perhaps on a car or on a house or something, and guess what? Your interest rates are going to go up. All right, which they'll keep the price the same, but they'll increase your payments. So say you got a house and you got a loan on it, and you got a set rate for a certain amount of interest on that loan. Well, instead of changing the rate so that they don't disturb you, all right, in your dark slumber, all they'll do is they'll raise your payments by a little bit, and then you'll just suck it up and pay it. But in fact, they're actually taking a lot of money from you, because over time, that little increase will actually cause a big effect to your wallet. Okay, so they're gonna feel that jump. It says, quote, with the Federal Reserve raising interest rates at an unprecedented pace, so never seen before event. All right, a biblical pace. Variable rate debts such as credit cards and home equity lines of credit, which I can't remember what they pulled the equity out of the house. You could get the equity in your house in cash. All right. But people's houses, they shot up in value, but now they're about to fall in value. All right. So some people thought they were rich because they may have had a house that went up to $600,000 when it was like a $300,000 house. And now it's about to go down to like $100,000 house, but now they owe 300,000 plus a loan on it, you know? So people are about to be in real bad state. The credit cards, Americans run off credit cards. All right, that's the lifestyle of America. You go from credit card to credit card, paying one credit card off with another. All right, so the American people are going to be in a very bad spot soon, real soon. It says, for debts such as credit cards and home equity lines of credit will be the biggest exposure. So if you got credit cards, home equity lines, which you have pulled the value of your house out in cash, all right, you got it refinanced. Well, you're going to be in a bad state because now they're going to increase the cost of you getting the loan on that house. Since most credit cards have a variable rate, all right, which they go up and down, there's a direct connection to the Fed's benchmark. As the federal funds rate rises, the prime rate does as well, and credit card rates follow suit. It says annual percentage rates are currently just over 17% on average, and this is talking about credit cards. 17%, but could be closer to 19% by the end of the year. All right, so that 19%, which we know it's a lie, all right, because they're telling you that inflation is low, but in fact, if you like gas, you can see that's been up. It's like 50%. Inflation up by 50%. That's a intense number. All right, but they're lying to you here, saying it's only going to go from 17% to 19%. All right, they're trying to downplay it, but really, this is going to have a deadly effect on the society of America. All right, so I'm gonna jump down. It says I'm thinking about the scriptures I'm gonna pull, but right here, this little piece of information right here, it says, with this rate hike, consumers with credit card debt will spend an additional $4.8 billion. See, that ain't little numbers, man. That is not a small number. $4.8 billion. All right. So debt is about to go up in America, which is going to affect the whole world. On interest, this year alone, according to an analyst by Wallet Hub, factoring in the rate hikes from March, May, June, and July, credit card users will wind up paying around $12.9 billion to $14.5 billion more in 2022 than they would have otherwise, Wallet Hub found. See, so it's going to get more expensive to live. And people are already losing their wits because of the price of gas, for the price of food, for the price of entertainment. Everything's going up. Now it's going to go up even more. These people are going to become desperate. And then in that desperate and being in that desperate state, they're gonna actually go into desperate behavior. Revelation 6, it says in verse, let me get it, verse 4, and there went out another horse that was red. All right, the horse represents power. And the red goes back to Adawam, which is Edom, the so-called white man. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, which that's being fulfilled right now. Meeting, the committee by these Edomites. Fed announces 75 basis point rate hike that's going to cost you $14 billion. But at the bank, it ain't nothing. They're making billions, if not trillions, off of the people, right? And from a 1% interest rate, and they're charging you 70, maybe 100% on certain loans, down to 19%. So the banks are filthy, filthy rich, blood sucking bastards, And it's the Edomites, the so-called Caucasians, that are the wicked that rule the world, and they have the rest of the nations in bed with them against the Israelites, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which been scattered throughout the world in slavery. All right, and this devil, the so-called white man, like this Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, they call themselves white, but as you can see, his collar on his shirt, he's not white. He don't blend in with his shirt collar because he is red, Adawam. All right. So this devil was given power from above to take away the peace of the earth. It says, and they should kill one another. But you had World War I, World War II, and eventually World War III. And there was given unto him a great sword. And this time they're going to use nuclear missiles on each other. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand, which these wicked devils, all right, they're unfair. Once again, they're borrowing the money from the Federal Reserve at 1%, but they're charging you 19-25%. That's highway robbery. All right, and you have no other option but to get, that interest rate, because that's going to be all the way across the board. So these devils...
You raised the target range for the federal funds.
All right, these devils have how to pay. All right, but what they're doing is they're coming down with great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. It says in verse 6, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. The oil and the wine is the men of the truth. The truth. So the men that hold this truth, we're going to be protected from famine. All right. But this famine is coming upon these people quickly. And what this scripture is saying is that it's going to cost you all day pay. You go to work, say you make $100, $200 a day. It's going to cost that eventually for a loaf of bread. And eventually, it's going to be even worse than Zimbabwe inflation, which they had milk for $1 million, $1 million of the Zimbabwe dollars. I think it even went higher. But America is about to see even worse inflation than that. You're going to see bread at $1 million, a loaf of bread, which is nothing. It don't even really cure hunger, because all it is really just a little bit of, and today it's even worse because, they got artificial flavoring, artificial ingredients, so you're not even really getting true bread anymore. And this happened to all the societies that collapsed, that had the Israelites in their grips. All right, this is how the Lord frees us from the hand of our enemy. He destroys them and their kingdom. All right. It says, and when he had opened the fourth seal, which Yahushua is releasing these spirits upon the earth, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death. And how the grave followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword and with hunger. Why is there going to be hunger? All right, because there's going to be a famine. Remember, who runs off of credit cards? Your trucking companies. Your trucking companies usually give their drivers a credit card. And when they go get diesel, guess what? They use that credit card, that line of credit. And what did I just read? The interest rates that were done by the feds is going to increase the interest rate on credit cards, most of all. All right, so this is going to affect the shortages. This is going to affect the backup. This is going to be affecting, how they got empty shelves even much more. It's going to get much worse. All right, pretty much it's going to get so bad there ain't going to be no food that people turn to cannibalism. All right, it says, and Hal followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. All right. So this devil, the so-called white man, all right, he's coming for blood. All right. Well, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which is the biblical Hebrew Israelites, which have been scattered throughout the world. All right. We're amongst all nations. All right. You got Israelites that look like all nations. All right. But their bloodline goes back to the Israelites. All right. This is why it's called Jacob's trouble, a time like no other. We're going into a time that's never been seen before. All right, never been experienced before. Famine, hunger on a whole nother level than ever been seen in even Africa. You look at some of these places where children are starving. It's going to get so bad in America, people are going to eat their children. All right? It's going to be horrific here very soon. Possibly by the end of this year. Within this year of 2022, the year the Lord is turning it up. But just like it says right there, all right, the Lord put the boundary for the elect. See thou hurt not the oil and the wine, and the angels encamp around us. So we're not going to starve, but the people around, that are not of the truth, that are not of the Holy Spirit, they're going to starve. All right. It says because you got the men of the Lord, and then you got these men that are of the world. 2 Ezra 16, and I'm going to jump down to verse 31. It says, even so in those days, it's 33. It says, the virgins shall mourn having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. All right, and you know how they've been pretty much arming the soldiers in the Ukraine to fight the Russians. All right, and they said, I heard this report. They said that they already sent 300,000 U.S. troops into that battleground. All right. And the whole world is going to turn into a state of war, World War III. So your men, all right, you women that have men, your husbands are going to be drafted and sent to war. Even the women, they want equal rights. Now, guess what? You're going to be drafted too. All right. The men are going to also go, start to become acting out because they got wives, kids, and there's famine. You can't get a job. They act like there's all these jobs, but really, they're not really hiring like they're saying with these signs. And all these places they got now hiring, but they're not hiring like they say they are because this is a hypocritical nation. All right. It says, having no husbands, their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. All right, so the what you would say a victim, but really it's just that these things come upon them. All right, are the women. The women have been puffed up with pride. All right, Esau, the so-called white man, been blowing hot air up women's ass for the last 25 years to 100 years. And now these women think that they don't need a man, think that they're better than a man. And that's how you know that the wicked are ruling, because things are out of order. But this shows you that the Lord is not with the woman. He's with the man. And if you're with a man that the Lord ain't with, guess what? You're going to catch the same judgment as that man. That's why when a woman was given in marriage, her father would be the one to do it, because he would, find a man or know a man, all right, of his liking, that he would say, hey, this man's going to take care of my daughter. He's a wise man. That's why you would always get your daughter an older man, so that her husband would be a man of wisdom and experience. All right. But this shows you that these women are going to be left helpless, because they're not going to have no man. What is the saying of today? They don't need a man. Well, in this day that's coming, they're going to need a man. They're going to wish they had a man. In fact, it says in Isaiah 13 that man, dealing with the elect men, are going to become as precious as fine gold of Ophir, which talks about pretty much the gold rush of America. There was a gold rush, like here in Colorado where I'm at. People came just to search out the gold in the mountains and in the rivers. All right. Well, that, even today, the U.S. gold, like you get a U.S. Gold ounce of the troy ounce Liberty, the walking Liberty. All right. That's more valued than like Canadian gold. All right. The U.S. gold coins are the most valuable in this economy today, even at the state it's in. All right. So that desire for the American gold, or even the lifestyle of America, the love of America, is going to be done away with, because America sucks now. All right. It's so expensive. You have no freedom. All right. And it's only going to get worse. What did they say? Schwab, he said, you shall own nothing and you shall like it. They have another saying, as soon as, when a man loses it all, he loses it. So that's what's coming. They're already telling you, you're not going to have nothing and you're going to like it. But we already know when a man loses it, he loses it. So that's what's coming. A bunch of desperate ass people running wild, killing, stealing, raping, shit. It's going to get crazy out here. And these women that claim, I don't need a man. You got these women that have a house full of daughters. Well, guess what? In that day, you're going to wish you had a man, but there ain't going to be no man to save you. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed. What wars? The wars that are happening right now. You got wars in Ukraine. All right. Well, you got men that are actually in the military. They might have been on a like a state of peace, but as soon as this Ukraine thing popped off, guess what? They went into active state. And they were probably with their wives and working a regular job. And then they get a call from the government. Hey, it's time to come back to service. Get ready for war. And this woman that had a man that perhaps, they have a pretty good lifestyle. Guess what? That lifestyle is gone, because now that man went off to war. And he's probably going to die out there. All right? Most likely going to die out there, because eventually the Lord's going to kill all these troops, these soldiers. The Lord ain't with these militaries of the world. All right? 2 Ezra 13, you can read that for yourself. He fucking burns them up. Dust and the smell of smoke is all that's left of these troops of the world's militaries. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, which there's even going to be wars in America's streets. So much so that it says that the blood is going to be, if it was able to be collected, all right, that all this blood that came out of these people, it would actually equal to a great lake, as deep as a horse's bridle. It says, and their husbands shall perish of famine. And that's what people don't get. They think they go to war and America's going to, bring you back. Look what they did to the people in Afghanistan, the American people of Afghanistan. They left people there. All right? That's why there's a whole fucking black wall, all right, that the government put up of men that were abandoned and left in Vietnam. All right? The U.S. government does not give a fuck about you. All right? And they're about to show you that clearly. All right? It says, hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. And we do. That's why we're doing these videos. We understand what time it is. We measure the time in itself. You got the rumors of wars. You got the sorrows. You got the pangs. The pangs is the messengers of sorrow. You got the prophets, starting with the prophets, the apostles, the elders, and the prophets of Great Millstone, which are, walking in the spirit of Yahushua. And then you even got the world telling you that it's about to get bad out here. You got the media, which is controlled, all right, telling you, all right, which is not but Russia. I'm sorry, not Russia, but it's government propaganda. Even here in America, all right, and it's only going to lead to the people's destruction. They're telling everybody everything's going to be fine. Don't worry, and guess what? It's going to hit you like a brick wall, man. Even worse. You're not going to know what to do because there ain't going to be no food in the stores. All right. It's going to be just violent out here on a whole nother level where people are losing their life because of the lack of bread. All right. 2 Ezra 16, verse 37, it says, "Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack." All right. And one of the plagues that is coming upon this world is famine. 2 Ezra 15, verse 14, it says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein." Woe means destruction. And there's much destruction coming to the world's population, all the way up to nuclear destruction. It says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh." The sword is the so-called white man. He is the sword of the Lord. And he came to punish you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And this is given to him by our Father Yahweh and his Son Yahushai, because the Israelites, all right, that reject the Lord are going to be destroyed by Esau at the coming of the Lord. Esau was given that great sword, the nuclear missile. All right, it says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." And what you're going to have right here, it says, "For there shall be sedition among men," which you already have. Sedition starts with rebellion in speech against their government, which you already have, and then it becomes physical rebellion. "And invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So just like in a third world country, you can see the people go in there and kill the family of the president, drag the president out of the house by a rope around his neck and drag him behind a car, hang him up, fucking set his body on fire. Well, these are the things that are going to come to America, which you have these politicians that are protected, right? They're supposed to have armed protection, right? Like you got the CIA that is supposed to be protecting the president, all right? But the Lord's going to allow them to be touched, these politicians that were protected from their people, all right? Well, guess what? They're not going to be able to make an escape like January 6th, all right? The Lord's going to put it where the people, when they're pissed off, they're hungry, they ain't got no job, they lost it all. Well, they're going to lose it, and they're going to touch these politicians in sedition. Verse 16, right? Now 17, it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able," because you're going to be in martial law, which you're already in martial law. But you're going to have military troops blocking the highways, blocking the borders, all right? And they're going to make it mandatory that you have an MOTB, an implantable micro CHIP, which is RFID. And they're going to make it mandatory for buying and selling, for traveling, for anything that you do in this society. They're going to say you need to have this device in your hand or in your forehead. It says, "For because of their pride," which is dealing with these Edomites, they're drunk on pride, the devil, the so-called white man, "the cities shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid, and a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And that's what we're coming to. You're going to have the time where there's no more bread, right, and there's great tribulation in the streets. And you're going to have your own neighbor that might have been your friend. He's eyeballing you, bringing in all these groceries. He sees your wife. He might have a hard on for your wife. And then when he loses it all, guess what? He loses it. And they're going to come in and kill you and rape your wife. That's what's coming to America, all right? And it's pretty much already here. Some of these things are already happening. Like in Fort Morgan, Colorado, there's a gas station where when you go pay for gas, you got to get a code from the cashier. And I asked them personally, I said, why do we need this code? They said, because when you prepay, which the gas station mandates, right? By the time you go out there, you got a couple guys taking your gas. And they said there's nothing they can do, If they already gave you the gas, you go out there and a couple other guys say they muscle you and take your gas. Well, when you go into the store ain't obligated to give you a refund because the gas that you paid for, though you may not have received it, those people that robbed you, they got it. And the store is not obligated to refund your money or even offer you protection. All right? So it's only going to get worse out here. All right? Zechariah 14. It says, right here we go. Verse 2 of Zechariah 14, and this is dealing with America. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, which Jerusalem is talking about the Israelites, and the city shall be taken, which this whole city, America, is going to go into martial law, actual martial law. They already got you in a state of martial law. That's why even the flags, when you go into the courthouses, they have a yellow fringe around the American flag. That is martial law. All right? It says, and the city shall be taken and the houses rifled. So there's going to come a point where they kick your door in, and if you don't have what they mandate, they're going to throw you in a FEMA camp, maybe shoot you in your head right there in your front door. It says, and houses rifled, meaning they'll go in and fuck up your shit looking for valuables. And the women ravished. The women are going to be raped. You might have had a man and they shoot the man in the head and then take the women, take the daughters, even their little boys for sex slaves, and then eventually food. All right? These things are coming, it's a reality that's soon to be played out all over America and all over the world. And half of the cities shall go forth into captivity, which they're going to put these people in FEMA camps to re-educate them to their NWO, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. So the elect are going to be saved. Remember, it said in Revelation 6, all right, touch not the oil or the wine. All right. So that's that residue of the people, the Israelites that are of the elect, all right, that are going to be saved. Because Esau is trying to literally wipe off the name of Israel from the earth, which is dealing with the prophets, because we're the ones that are keeping in remembrance that we are the Israelites, and Yahweh is our God, and Yahweh Shai is our Lord and Savior. It says, then shall Yahweh go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle. All right. Now, 2 Ezra 15, let me get this. The Lord says here, verse 10, behold, my people, the Israelites, is led as a flock to the slaughter. All right, that's their intentions, is to slaughter us or have us slaughtered by everybody killing each other. I will not suffer them to dwell in the land of Egypt. Egypt is dealing with America. America is the spirit of Sodom and Egypt. But I will bring them, look at the raising of interest rates. What does that do? That makes it where you got to work harder to make those payments. You got people that have like 3-4 jobs already out here. They're working 4 part-time jobs to try to make up 2 full-time jobs. All right? So this is the place of Egypt, bondage. America is in a state of bondage. But I will bring them with the mighty hand and the stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Which Egypt, you could go to Egypt today and see the pyramids of ancient Egypt. So this ain't talking about ancient Egypt. This is talking about modern Egypt, the spiritual Egypt, Babylon, America, who are to be destroyed. All right? But I will bring them with the mighty hand and the stretched out arms and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. And how's it going to be destroyed? Going back to Zechariah 14, verse 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away, and their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth. All right, so this is a nuclear destruction, which is going to happen in America. The major judgment is going to take place here in America. All right, because America is that virgin daughter of Babylon, the Babylon the Great, which is going to be destroyed. But with that, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bashamha, Rakakodash, double honors to our apostles and elders which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure. Shalom. And Abba Ball.